folks, Jonathan here. I'm back. We're working on a Cadillac engine. So I showed everybody the other day, we got the starter, got it on. Brought this into the shop. First things first, let me see. Seen somewhere listed on the internet this thing was supposed to be 900 pounds, 900 something pounds. It's not. This engine's 700 something pounds. Not as heavy as what you would think. You know, even though they used them in tanks and all that, they're not that bad. Okay, one of the things I want to show pretty quick. Well, let me tell you what, in case somebody's watching this that hasn't seen any of the videos previous. Okay, this is a 1941 Cadillac 346 cubic inch flathead. I had been looking for one of these for a long time and found one. And this particular engine is out of a car. Although they used a lot of these in tanks. And if you look at the oil fill, the quickest and easiest way would be to spot the oil fill on the side. If it's on the side, then you automatically know that it's a car engine. If it's not, it's going to be a tank engine. Basically the same engine except the little changes they've done for the government. Okay, if this would be a LaSalle engine, I think they were like 322 cubic inches. The LaSalle's had a smaller cube. I think that's what it was, don't quote me on it, but anyway. So, what we've got going on. Starter's on, starter works. I bought the starter as a core on eBay. Guy sold it as a core, but he was parting out a Cadillac. And I looked, and every part he had on there he had listed as a core. So I kind of had a feeling that it was probably just a takeoff, and he didn't want to sell it as a good one because he didn't want to, you know, get backlash if there's something wrong with it. So I bought it, and yes, it's good. Rolls over good. Well, the starter does. I hadn't rolled it over on the engine yet. Now we did turn the engine by hand, at least one full rotation to make sure nothing was sticking. But so we was going to do the starter deal. But I was going to do a compression test, but I don't think we're going to be able to do the compression test. I think I've got one of the compression testers that you can hold on there, but I don't know if we can do it or not. I'm going to show you why. And one of the reasons that I can't do the first start here until I get some spark plugs. That spark plug is actually a 10 millimeter, which is a small plug like a Honda 70 motorcycle. You know, GM is a 14 millimeter, and then, you know, you get some of the 18 millimeters in the, you know, the Fords, the older Fords, but that is a tiny plug. And I ordered a set. It won't be in until the morning, so I can't do nothing there. And let me see. Carburetor. We have got to do something about a carburetor, and didn't have one on it. I probably have a Strongberg like was on it, maybe on that 303 Buick engine or something, and I can look around for another one of these 2Gs. Wanted to explain a little bit about the 2Gs. So they made this in two different styles. They made this in a small bore and a big bore. This is the small bore, and let me show you. I think I've got a big bore here too. Okay, you can really tell the difference. Now this one's stuck. I was soaking it with some BB Blaster, trying to get it cleaned out. There's a small bore, and this is a big bore. So it's a different size bolt pattern. It's different size throats. We used to call them 1 1/4 and 1.5 because these are 1 1/2, these 1 1/4. Basically, two completely different carburetors when it comes to size. Check the numbers on this. This came back as a 1972 307 Chevrolet, and these carburetors here are a little bit later, but they're close around the same years. They've all of these have got the 70 part numbers, what it starts out with. And if you look at the side, 70, and before 68, I don't think they didn't have them on there. You had the triangle tag, but you know, you could still ID it without it. You didn't have to have it. You could figure out metered vacuum, non-metered vacuum, and go through and figure out, you know, about what year and what vehicle it came off of. These are 2GV with the heat choke that would have been on the manifold to pull it. But this is the early style that they used, and this is the style that's going to bolt on our engine here. Now this is really not enough carburetor for that engine. They made these carburetors, I'm not sure how high they went with the CFM on these. I can't remember. I know it was like 285 was minimum, up to a 450 with these CFM, depending on what application. You know, they put them on trucks with, and, you know, had governors and put some bigger ones on. They started this carburetor in 1955, and they built, I'm thinking these was ended by maybe 72, 3 through there somewhere, and these ones was built up through, I think 79 was the last year for them. So they had a long run from 55 to 79, and really good carburetors. There's, you know, no issues with these. Building them or anything like that. They're not complicated. And for anybody that's wondering about metered and non-metered vacuum, we could open the holes here and look at the slots inside. And this vacuum here, of course, is non-metered because it's coming directly here at the hole. But depending on if them slots and little squares inside this base plate is on this side of the choke or the throttle plate or the other side. If it's on this side, then it's non-metered vacuum. That means it's got vacuum all the time. If it's on the other side of the throttle plate, when you open the throttle plate up and look and count them, then you would know whether it was, you know, a metered vacuum or not, which would be up here. And you know, we could go by that of how many was there, and that's how we, you know, ID'd the cores and ID'd the carburetors. And there's another vacuum that is not, yeah, it is ported into there, so that would be a full vacuum, not metered. And you know, there's a vacuum. So you got vacuum everywhere, different places, and then you got your power brake vacuum on the back. And so good carburetors. We'll get it apart, get it cleaned. Not trying to bore you with a bunch of carburetor stuff, but anyways, we'll have to get that one unstuck and get it on there. Alright, storming and cold and icy outside. So what we're going to do now, got the carburetor apart, got it soaking, blown off around the spark plug holes so we don't get nothing in the cylinders. We're going to pull all the spark plugs out and I'm going to spray some PB Blaster in it. And I've got battery cables on it. I'm going to put a battery on it. We're going to turn it over. I can't do a compression test. I've got one of the compression testers you hold in there somewhere, not sure where I put it. Don't really like them, don't use them too often, but could have really used it on this deal, but that's okay. We'll just put our finger over the hole and see how much compression it's got, and we'll get a good idea from there. I know it, you know, we turned it over by hand one full turn. We didn't want, you know, want to make sure nothing was stuck, so hopefully no valves are stuck or anything like that. I don't know. We're going to figure it out here in a minute. All right, folks, everything's hooked up and ready to go. I'm getting ready to roll her over and see what happens. I put some PB Blaster down the cylinders, and hopefully it won't blow it out too far. If it rolls over, we hadn't even checked to make sure the starter engaged into the teeth right. And it does. So check this side. Ooh, that ain't good. I hope our battery is dead and there ain't no other issue. Let me grab a different battery. Okay, I think we just had a low battery issue here. Alright, there's only one that don't have compression. It's number, well, the third one back on this side. I don't know the correct firing order on this engine. Don't know where number one's at. Let's see. Number one's going to be here. I'm assuming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm saying number one's here because this head's farther forward than the other head. So that's the first piston. Second piston would be over on this side, second one back. But that don't mean that's how they numbered the cylinders. If they numbered it like other GMs, do 1, 3, 5, 7. And numbered it like they do it forward, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like we got oil pressure too. That ain't good. Let me show you this. I wasn't paying too much attention. Well, I ain't gonna say it ain't good. It's good. Evidently, we've got an oil pressure gauge that was hooked up, and we have pumped some oil out. So I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a good thing we caught it, but it's not a bad thing. All right, let me get this capped off or get a pressure gauge on it. All right. Okay, so I'm getting ready to start putting the carburetor back together, but we have run into one dilemma on the engine. The third cylinder back on this side, the valve stuck, but it's kind of odd. It's the intake valve stuck, and usually you don't have intake valves that stick that much. But here's how you can tell. I'm gonna put some air pressure on it. Going right out. So that's the only cylinder that there's zero compression on, and I'm gonna have to do something to get that valve down, and it may require pulling the head off. And if I have to do it, I'll do it. It's not a problem. Hopefully it's well, I know it's got a brass head gasket. Let's just hope I can, or a copper. Let's just hope I can do it without messing it up. If I mess it up, you know, I can get them. It's not a big deal. They're just not cheap. So anyway, a lot of people don't realize it, but if you look at some of the really early manuals, especially for farm tractors and stuff, head gaskets were reusable. Most of them said just dip them in oil. And actually, if you read a Fortson manual, tractor manual, it tells you to, for all the gaskets, to use newsprint. Now, I don't think newsprint was the same as the newspaper now, you know, the thin stuff. It was probably a thicker material, but that's what you're supposed to make the gaskets out of. And anyway, we've got the full pressure capped off. I couldn't find anything. That's a weird setup, so I couldn't find anything to actually hook up to a gauge. We know it's got some pressure anyway, but I cleaned it off and rolled it over and made sure it wasn't leaking anymore. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do on this head. If I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. Don't want to, but you know, I don't. It's got, you know, we got to do what we got to do. So you know how it is. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll pull it off and go from there. All right. Okay, folks. It looks like this thing has left me with no choice but to pull the head. So we're going to pull driver's set head off of it. Hopefully no bolts will break. See if we can get her off without hurting the gasket, and then we'll see what we can do about the valve. I mean, we could start it, but there's no use starting it because we know it's not going to run on 8 cylinders. So let's see what we can do about getting her straightened out. All right, don't have much time left on the camera. Well, we didn't hurt the gasket at all. Came off really easy. Let's roll it over a little bit and see what it looks like. Alright. We're good with everything else. Let me work with it a little bit here. Okay, folks, feels pretty good. A little bit of a ring ridge, nothing major. Got that valve closed. I rolled over it open. I got to tap it back in, but you know, it's going to be fine. It's just going to take some work. Impressed with the valve size. It looks like they're almost 2-inch intakes. Really surprised. I'll do some measuring on them for the next video, but I think we're going to call this one video. I was wanting to do it all in one, but it's stretched out so far that it's going to be a 2-part. So next video we will get this right, get it cleaned up, We'll get some copper spray, put on the gasket, get it back together since we didn't hurt it, and we will get the carburetor together, see if we can get it started. So hopefully the next one will be the finishing video. Alright, and I don't know which one of y'all sent all this stuff down here, but we're not supposed to be dealing with this kind of stuff. So the only thing about it is 2 days from now, it'll all be gone. Alright, appreciate everybody watching. Till next time, bye.